Alright, I'm an ecologist, and I need to speak my mind about this. It was at the Paris Climate Conference in December 2015 that 195 countries, politicians and so-called scientists heading these countries, gathered to discuss efforts to limit global warming to less than 2 degrees Celsius. Now, for those of you unfamiliar, the difference in between a degree Celsius and a degree Fahrenheit is the same. The two scales just start at different places. 0 degrees Celsius is the freezing point of water, and Fahrenheit, a bit more confusing, is a scale I think only at least widely, the United States, where I live, uses. So yeah, we get the weird scales. Oh, there's Blackie Berry. You guys want to see Blackie Berry? Let's see. Hey there, Blackie Berry. Alright, I'm gonna need to cut this for a moment. Hey, so I'm back. My kitty does like to hop up and lie on top of whatever I'm working on. He's right here on my computer desktop with me and spilling all my trading cards. Okay, so where were we? Yes. Paris Climate Agreement. So the point is, okay, so a change in degrees Celsius is equal to a change in degrees Fahrenheit. They'll just have different numbers on the recording devices. The head of the Environmental Protection Agency, who I would think is supposed to have some idea of the cost and effort versus benefit of any environmental plan that the agency she leads is a major part of, could not answer when asked to what extent this plan would actually curb global warming. It turns out that the plan, if implemented by all involved countries, would only reduce the average global temperatures change by 2 to 3/10 of a degree by the end of the century, by the year 2100. I watch the commercials and the YouTube ads and the programs all about the great things the Paris Climate Agreement will do for our future. And of course, they all talk about an interconnected globalist paradise, a world that is not the real world. The real world is falling apart due to, among other things, extremely poor managing of attempts to create a borderless world without any thought or recognition of the consequences by the world leaders and governments, except for Donald Trump. You heard me right. I am an ecologist. I've spent 10 years studying environmental science, and while my special interest is in prehistoric creatures, yes, I'm well aware of the factors influencing resource management. I am defending President Trump's decision to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement. As Trump said, this agreement has less to do with climate and more to do, well, a lot more, with other countries gaining a potential advantage over the United States. I agree. The cost of the Paris Climate Pact is between $1 and $2 trillion every year. And remember, that's $1 or $2 trillion every year until the year 2100. And that's another 83 years. According to both the Stanford Energy Modeling Forum and the Asia Modeling Exercise. It's where these where this budget estimate comes from. So, can anyone tell me of a country right now that is spending its money intelligently? $1 to $2 trillion a year for 83, 84 years, and that's if we only keep this plan for 2 to 3/10% reduction in climate change, global warming. See, here's the thing, and this is, of course, assuming that these scientists at the head of the countries, all of which who have their own agendas, well, besides globalism, actually understand global climate. Now, I know that skepticism sounds pretentious, but climatology is one of the most complex earth sciences in existence. We are talking about carbon emissions, mostly, and I have a little YouTube video about the carbon cycle because I'm working on studying global climate change from the ground up, because I honestly think it's been so politicized on both sides that I really have a hard time trusting any of it. But so we're talking about carbon emissions, carbon dioxide, methane. What so few of these studies take into account is also the greenhouse gas of water vapor, which is always present in the atmosphere. And of course you can have carbon emissions from volcanic eruptions as well. I don't know to what extent they're taking that into account. Also, keep in mind, whether or not you're familiar with this, that in its prehistoric past, in periods like the Mesozoic, the Carboniferous, the Permian, accounting for warmer and cooler periods, a lot of these times in Earth's history, the average global temperature has been much higher, averaging tens of degrees higher sometimes than it is today. We are actually in an interglacial period. We are in one of the, on average, cooler time periods, barring the Cryogenian, but that's another story. So, regardless, the cost to benefit is pathetic. The best solution, if we want to get away from fossil fuels, really is to invest in and develop green, renewable energy to the point where they are cost and space efficient enough to take over. In the current state of the world, I know the countries are working on this, but I do think we need to go through a lot of societal recovery before that happens, to say the least. To quote Trump again, China and India, and even Europe, will be able to build coal plants, but the United States will not. This agreement does not eliminate coal plants, it just transfers them out of America and the United States. The United States is America, unless he's talking about North and South America, but and ships them to foreign countries, countries where, mind you, the environmental standards are and waste product management, clean air, clean water, are the ecological protection is of much worse, much lower quality than the United States. So that is not going to help the climate or the environment. So he's right. He's right. And, I mean, if America wants to... Now, one argument I often have heard against the continuation and expansion of reliance on fossil fuels is that even if every reservoir of coal and oil was open to harvesting without restriction, the problem would be that we would one day run out of fossil fuels to extract from the ground, and we would lose our source of energy, any energy, and without an alternate source, this is true. We are developing alternative energy sources. Technology to harness renewable energy, but for that to replace fossil fuels, again, they need to be available and efficient enough to at least meet, if not surpass, the cost effectiveness of fossil fuels. This is a huge undertaking that should be studied, that should be developed. But seeking oil from the Middle East and the wars that emerged from that was in part due to the increasingly strict environmental regulations on the fossil fuel industry that made drilling and excavating in North America not worth the endeavor. And look at what's come from that. And it's not the only reason for the state of the world today, but it is a factor. So we need to start being a lot smarter and pumping billions, trillions of dollars into more government programs, which, how many societal problems has that solved? This is not a viable answer. So, and as far as preserving the national parks, the ecological sanctuaries that would be open to drilling, to excavation, I will help to divert and minimize that. I will. This is what I've been studying to do. I promise I will help with that. But this plan is not the answer. I'm sorry. I too am a warrior for the earth. But we need to start going about this much more sustainably and intelligently. So I just wanted to get this preliminary video and abbreviated analysis out tonight. I will continue studying this and involved earth science topics, studying climate and global clipping and warming cycles from the ground up. Again, I think it's been way too politicized to trust the reports that are out right now, and I just have to say, as a closing statement, considering the cost-benefit of the plan that these world leaders are suggesting now, it really looks like this is a lot less about science and more, almost entirely, about buying votes based on feels for caring for the earth, and buying votes from science, which is not how science works.